Anna was 27 years old and lived in the bustling city full of life and noise. Skyscrapers attached the clouds, and the streets were always busy with people rushing to work, cars hawking and street vendors calling out to sell their goods. Among the city's chaos, Anna was known for unusual behavior. At first glance, she seemed like any other young woman, tall and graceful, with a smile that could light up the darkest alley. But those who knew her well whispered about her three different sides. Her neighbors in the small apartment complex on the King Street always saw her kind and caring side. Anna could always greet everyone warmly, often bringing freshly baked cookies to the older residents. She loved taking care of stray cats and helping mothers carrying groceries up to the stairs. Her kindness brought comfort to those who struggled with the city's harsh realities, and people often called her an angel. But even the kindest angel can have a dark shadow, and Anna was no exception. Anna's kindness was no act. It was a part of who she truly was. Each morning, she would wake up early, put on a flowery dress, and walk into the nearest bakery to buy bread for the hungry children who played in the aisle. She spent her weekends volunteering at the shelter, reading stories to children and giving them hope that the world was a beautiful place despite the towering grey buildings around them. Her eyes sparkled with joy when she made people smile, and her heart warmed at the thought of making the world a little bit brighter. Her friends at the shelter admired her and often wondered how someone so kind and selfless would live in a city that thrived on competition and greedy. "Anna, you are too good for this place," Mrs. Jackins, the shelter's manager, would say with a chuckle. Anna would laugh and brush off the compliment, but beneath her cheerful character, there was a part of her that no one at the shelter could see. A side of Anna that was unpredictable as the city's clever changing weather. As the sun set behind the skyscrapers and the streetlights began to flicker, Anna's carefree side emerged. This side of her was wild and full of energy, always ready to chase the thrill of life. She would slip into a bright red dress, let her hair down, and head to the nearest club or join a group of street performers singing and dancing under the neon lights. With laughter echoing through the streets, Anna felt free from all the worries and responsibilities. She would climb the tallest fountain and splash in the water, not caring if her laughter drew curious stares from people passing by. This carefree version of Anna was like a wind, impossible to pin down and full of surprise. Her friends from her nighttime adventure knew her as the girl who never worried about tomorrow. "Life is too short to play it safe," she would shout, spinning around the dancing floor as the music pounded. To them, she was a mystery, but no one tried to solve it. They simply enjoyed her wild spirit, never imagining that this side of Anna was a cover for something much darker. Underneath the carefree laughter and kind smiles, there was a third side of Anna, a side that no one wanted to believe existed. Later at night, when the streets emptied and shadow lurked around every corner, this side of her came out to play. Her eyes would narrow, a cruel smile would curl on her lips, and as she thought of a way to get back to people who had crossed her. In this form, Anna was wicked, cunning, a master of twisting people's words and creating chaos. One evening, her neighbor Mr. Collins, a wealthy businessman, accused her of letting stray cats ruin his perfectly kept garden. Anna's wicked side wouldn't let it go. She spent the next few nights plotting her revenge, leaving fish bones scattered across his doorsteps and spreading rumors that his business was on the verge of collapse. When Mr. Collins confronted her, she just smiled sweetly, denying everything, even as she watched him suffer. The thrill of manipulating people and seeing them fall into her traps gave her a sense of power she craved. Peter, a young journalist who lived across the wall from Anna, had always been fascinated by her. He would see her different sides and wouldn't make sense of them. Sometimes he could catch her in the morning, looking peaceful as she watered the small plants on her balcony. Other times, he would hear her carefree laughter ringing down the street as she danced under the city lights. But it was the occasion cold, calculating look in her eyes that haunted him the most. One day, Peter decided he needed to find out who Anna really was. Was she the angel the children of the shelter loved? The carefree party girl everyone admired? Or the wicked schemer who made people suffer? The next morning, the city woke with the familiar sounds of hawks' cars and street vendors setting up their stands. Anna was already awake, her apartment filled with rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee. She hummed a soft tune as she prepared breakfast, feeding a stray cat she had named Jigger, who made a habit of lodging on her windowsill. This was Anna in her kind and caring form, the one everyone adored. As she stepped out into the busy street, she greeted her neighbors, carrying bags of food to the log shelter. "Good morning, Mr. Patel," she called out the elderly man selling flowers in the corner. Mr. Patel smiled warmly at her, and Anna purchased a small bucket of flowers, placing them in the basket of a little girl who sold newspapers. The girl's eyes lit up, and Anna's heart soared with happiness. Small acts of kindness like this kept her spirit alive, and the city seemed a little less harsh when she shared her love. But Peter, who had spent the morning pretending to read newspapers from the cafe across the street, couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Anna. His journalist instincts were tingling, urging him to dig deeper. He scripted in his notebook, "Who is Anna?" The question felt heavy, like a mystery that refused to stay buried. Despite her angelic behavior, rumors about Anna had begun to circulate through the city. People whispered about the odd things that happened whenever she was around. Mr. Collins, for instance, had become paranoid ever since his perfect garden was rained, swearing that Anna had cursed him. And Mrs. Lopez, the grocer, claimed that she had once seen Anna talking to herself in the backyard. Her expression twisted with hunger before transforming back into her usual sweet smile. Anna heard the whispers, but she chose to ignore them, focusing instead on her work at the shelter. That day, she read stories to the children and helping Mrs. Jenkins organize food donations. But behind her kind smile, a storm brewed. Deep down, Anna knew she couldn't hide her other side forever. The tension within her was like a cold snake, ready to strike at any moment. Peter watched her from a distance, noting the way she seemed to mask her emotions so effortlessly. He decided that night he would follow her, hoping to uncover the truth about a woman who seemed too perfect to be real. As the sun dipped below the skyline, casting long shadows over the city, Peter's heart raced. When the night fell, Anna's carefree side took over. She traded her yellow dress for a short, shimmering blue one and applied bold red lipstick that made her eyes stand out. The city transformed under the moonlight, and Anna became someone else entirely. She met up with her friends near the lively plaza where musicians strummed guitars and fire dancers streamed flames. Laughter filled the air as Anna danced barefoot, her hair flying in the wind. In this moment, she was wild and free, like a bird soaring over the cityscape. Peter kept a careful distance, amazed at how she seemed from a woman who baked cookies for the elderly. She laughed and joked with strangers, even climbing onto the edge of the fountain and trickling around like she was invisible. "Anna, you are crazy," her friend Liam shouted, but Anna only laughed harder, the sound echoing off the building. Peter was so amazed by her carefree energy that he almost forgot his mission. But when Anna's eyes caught the light in the way that made them glimmer darkly, he remembered the rumors. He had to keep on watching to figure out if this carefree version of Anna was truly how she was, or there was something lay hidden beneath. After hours of dancing and drinking, Anna slipped away from her friends. Her carefree laughter faded into the shadow as she made her way through the city back, where street lights barely reached. Peter followed, carefully not to make a sound. His curiosity grew as Anna's posture changed. Her carefree nature dissolved, and a calculating look settled on her face. She stood still, staring at the sky for a moment before whispering to herself. "You think you can mess with me, Mr. Collins?" she murmured, her voice colder than the evening breeze. "We'll see who has the last laugh." Her wicked side had taken over, and Peter could see it clearly now. Anna's lips curved into the cruel smile as she pulled out a small notebook filled with notices and schematics of Collins' property. She was planning something bad. Peter's heart pounded. He was finally seeing the side of Anna that everyone feared. But before he could back away, he stepped on a piece of glass, and crash echoed through the hall. Anna's head snapped around. Her dark eyes narrowed as she spotted Peter standing there, frozen with fear. Her smile widened for the first time. Peter saw how truly dangerous she could be. Anna took a step forward to him, her heels clinking against the curbstone. Well, Peter," she said, her voice dripping with a mocking sweetness. "What are you doing here? Following me?" Peter swallowed, his throat dry. He had wanted to uncover her secrets, but now he was trapped, caught in her web. Anna's gaze was piercing, and he knew he had to think fast if he wanted to get out of the situation alive. Peter forced a laugh, trying to sound casual. I was out for a walk," he lied, hoping she wouldn't hear the fear in his voice. But Anna wasn't fooled. Her wicked side was clever, always watching for weaknesses. She tilted her head, her smile never reached her wide eyes. "You shouldn't wander alone at night," she said. "The city can be dangerous, you know." Peter nodded, stepping back slowly. He could feel her gaze following him, and for a moment he wondered if he would make it out of the alley unharmed. But then Anna's expression softened, and she let out a laugh that sounded almost genuine. "Relax, Peter," she said. "I'm just teasing." But he knew better. Behind her playful words lay a threat, a warning to stay away from her secrets. Peter hurried home, his mind racing. He had seen the true face of Anna, and he knew one thing for certain. He was way over his head. Peter slammed his apartment door shut, his heart still pounding from the encounter with Anna. He leaned against the door, trying to catch his breath. He had finally seen the side of Anna that everyone whispered about. The side that was wicked, manipulative, and scheming. But what could he do with this information? If he exposed her, who would believe him? Anna's kind and carefree side were so well known that people would dismiss his story as a nonsense or accuse him of trying to tarnish her reputation. Peter paced his small living room, replaying the scene in his mind. He had always prided himself on being the fearless journalist, but facing Anna's dark side had shaken him. "Think, Peter, think," he muttered to himself. He needed a proof, a solid evidence of Anna's schemes. But gathering proof meant getting closer to her, a dangerous task he wasn't sure he was ready for. He rubbed his temples, feeling the weight of decision pressing down on him. Was he really willing to risk his safety for the sake of the truth? As he sat down on his couch in his cozy apartment, his phone buzzed. It was a message from his editor at the city's newspaper. "Any updates on the big story you are working on? We are counting on you, Peter." He sighed, realizing that his career might depend on covering Anna's secrets. With a renewed determination, he made a plan. He would observe her more carefully, gathering evidence of her wicked deeds, and reveal the truth to the world. Little did he know he was about to be pulled deeper into Anna's dangerous world. Across the street, in her cozy yet chaotic apartment, Anna stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her eyes were tired and her hands trembled slightly. Tonight had been too close for comfort. She had let Peter see her wicked side, and she knew that was a mistake. "You have to be more careful," she whispered to herself, her voice trembling. But even as she tried to regain control, the three sides of her personality whistled within her. The kind and the caring Anna wanted to curl up in bed and forget the whole thing. She wanted to bake cookies for the elderly tomorrow and feed stray cats like she always did. The carefree Anna rolled her eyes, longing to put her dancing shoes and forget her worries at the city's hottest nightclub. But the wicked Anna smirked, her voice echoing in Anna's mind. "You can't hide from who you are," she sneered. "You have power to use it." Anna closed her eyes, feeling torn apart. Living in the city had always been thrilling, but now it felt like a prison where she was trapped with her own darkness. As she changed into her pajamas and climbed into the bed, a tear slipped down her cheek. She wondered if she would ever be free from the side of herself that fought so fiercely for control. Sleep came slowly, and when it did, it was filled with nightmares of schemes gone wrong and the feeling of being watched. The next morning, Anna woke to the sound of knocking at the door. She rubbed her eyes and stopped to open the door, only to find Peter standing there, looking nervous but determined. Her kind and caring side immediately took over, and she smiled warmly. "Peter, what's bringing you here so early?" she asked, her voice soft and inviting. But her heart raced, knowing that he had seen too much the night before. Peter shifted uncomfortably, clenching a folder full of notes. "I wanted to talk to you," he stammered. Anna stepped aside, inviting him in. As he entered, he couldn't help but notice a contrast between the warm and welcoming decor of her apartment and the cold, calculating woman he had seen last night. Anna offered him a cup of tea. Her kindness was so genuine that Peter almost doubted what he had witnessed. They sat across each other, and Peter took a deep breath. "I've been writing a story," he began, choosing his words carefully. "I need your help to understand something." Anna raised an eyebrow, her hands clasped around her steaming mug. "A story? About what?" she asked, her voice calm as she summarized. But deep down, she was bracing herself for what he might say. Peter hesitated, feeling the weight of her gaze. "It's about people who hide parts of themselves," he said slowly, his eyes searching hers for any reaction. Anna's smile fluttered for a split second, but she recovered it quickly. "That sounds fascinating," she replied, her voice steady. "And what have you discovered so far?" Peter swallowed, feeling like he was playing a dangerous game. "Not enough," he admitted, "but I plan to find out more." Anna leaned back, her expression unreadable. She could sense his curiosity, his determination. The kind and carefree side of her wanted to laugh it off, but her wicked side whispered a warning. He's getting too close, be careful. Anna knew she had to make a decision. Would she let Peter dig deeper and risk everything? Or should she find a way to stop him before it was too late? We don't know what is going to happen next. Is Anna going to let Peter dig into her secret life, or would she find a way to push him back? We don't know that. This is part 1 of our story. Part 2 is coming very soon. Leave something in the comment section. Just let me know what you think of it. And bye bye. See you in my next video. I love you all.